Creation's journey to life. In this journey, the patterns that constitute what we have accepted as our reality will be deconstructed through self-forgiveness and reconstructed through a commitment of correction to that which is best for all life. Day 89. Remember the truth. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize the truth of the matter, that I will in fact find myself only when I realize the truth of what I am in fact, which is without a doubt within a physical flesh body which contains a mind, which contains dimensions, which contains memories, which contains characters, of which I am one, as a character depending on the relationship I believe exists between these characters, of which some of the dimensions, as characterized memory, I have imposed on the flesh body to be able to move around on Earth, which is a body in the solar system, which is a body in a galaxy, which is a body in a universe. And if I cannot be self-honest about these facts, I will not be able to find my way and realize the truth of actual reality. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that I have ways and means with which to establish what is the truth of my actual reality, because if I do not do this, the I that I am now will end. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that if the flesh body, that is one of the dimensions of my existence, stops breathing, the I as I experience myself now will end. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that if the flesh body within which I am experiencing myself would be damaged in any way, my experience of myself will, according to the damage, be influenced and in case of serious injury, serious damage, become limited even more. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that if my flesh body has brain damage and I have memory loss, the I that I am now will immediately become unknown to me, and the I that I am now will no longer exist, similar to what happens when my flesh body dies, which proves unequivocally that the I that I am now is dependent on certain flesh abilities, and thus the I that I am now will not continue after death. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that if the flesh body is not given proper nutrition, the flesh body will go into survival shock, which will change the experience of who I am now and force me into the continuous search for nutrition in every way possible, as I would try whatever way possible to keep my body alive, as I do realize that if my flesh dies, my experience of who I am now ends. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that if my fleshy body does not have a secure home and I am, as the body, exposed to the elements on earth, my experience as who I am now will change dramatically, as I will have to find constantly basic protection for my flesh body against the elements that are pervasive in every moment here on earth. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the I am that I experience now is 100% dependent on the conditions, environment, and reality my parents' fleshy bodies find themselves in, and that this will determine the education that will determine the experience of the I will be. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that my experience of the I is dependent in every way on the system that all the I's on earth participate in, which is determined by money, as all the I's agreed, willingly or not, to be the key which will determine all the experiences that the I that I am now can be during the brief existence of the I before it ends abruptly in one breath. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that if I do not give to all the other I's the opportunity to experience equally more, I have no guarantee that my experience, if it is good, will remain good, as I have created competition for experience, and I have created ways to protect my experience, forcing all the I's that cannot have the same to consider force, to take my experience from me so that they can have it as well, causing a history of I's which continuously look at revolution to change who will experience what on earth. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that I cannot remember how I got what I am in detail, how I got to what I am in detail, and therefore I cannot find the real truth of who I am until I in fact understand where I am for real, and how I ended up as the here of my experience, in fact, completely alone and isolated, in constant anxiety and fear, or in states of love and bliss to try and hide the truth of my reality to myself, as I fear the truth so much that I prefer to remain oblivious to the fact of my existence, causing me to experience a world where nothing is certain, and all my protection must be forced on all eyes, so that I may remain secure in a temporary existence that may change at any moment, removing me forever from my current experience. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that to remember means to actually be able to understand my own creation of the self I experience now in such detail that I can change and enhance this in an instant to also ensure that all the eyes that are as me in this experience may experience themselves as what is best and without fear. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that as long as I allow the current system of experience, I am in fact only a creator of fear in me and others. I commit myself to assist all the eyes to learn and realize how the current eyes on earth in fact function and can be changed to actually change the world for real. I commit myself to prove that no eye on earth currently actually is self-honest enough to realize the truth of this existence, and therefore existence is not changed and in fact is deteriorating fast. I commit myself to show that the only real truth is the how I created myself, because only then I can change myself at will in any moment. I commit myself to show that at Destiny we actually understand all the ins and outs of creation in detail, and that if you care about you, let go of the fear and learn, as each one will experience the consequence of allowing what each one allows. I commit myself to show that self-forgiveness, self-honesty, breath with writing in fact forms the foundation of understanding the truth, and that this is so as to show the equality that must exist for the experience on earth to change to what is best for all life, always.